नमस्कार दिनेश जी।
Dr. Garg, how are you?
गुड। आप लोग कैसे हैं?
Doing very well, thank you.
Good. So definitely yesterday that lecture was very interesting. In fact, I had to drop out a bit early because I was feeling
Yeah,
so
I saw
sleepy,
that.
but it was
Okay,
very
yeah, it was quite
interesting,
late
in
for you, I
fact.
guess. Yeah.
And it was, first time I could now the application of this flapping wing design, which the concept comes from the flies or insects.
Right.
It's a wonderful, technology in the nature.
True.
Mhm.
And the flapping motions are so complicated and so very different from one
It's,
insect to another, and from
that's
insects to birds, and from one bird to another. It's really amazing how nature has evolved over so many millennia.
that's right. And I don't think it's so easy to analyze such a, non-steady flow,
True, true.
continuously turbulence,
Yeah,
non-steady.
yeah,
And
absolutely, absolutely.
yes, it was very interesting. I
Right,
really
right.
enjoyed.
Right. And
Mm,
because of the small sizes and small speeds, the Reynolds number is so low that the
yes,
viscosity becomes very important, and the equations for fluid mechanics are extremely complicated. You
it's all
pretty much
broken
have to
down. In
use the
fact,
full Navier-Stokes.
I think concept of Navier-Stokes will be broken down.
True.
Yeah, I can't deal
So
with all
that
of
is
it.
one part. Then also the miniaturization, when you're looking at probably replicating that in a man-made vehicle, then you need miniaturized electronics, of course, and so many other things also need to be miniaturized. So challenges are not just aerodynamic, but so many other aspects as well.
That's right. Yesterday, in fact, after the talk, I got interested and Googled, some of these concepts. So one of the paper I started reading was where they have experimented with only 40-gram helicopter. I'm amazed.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's like a fly.
True,
And
true.
they have all the system in it. It can
Right,
fly
right.
and it sends signal. It's amazing. How
Of course, all the
I,
avionics has
it's,
benefited from the personal electronic devices like mobile
yes,
phones and things like that, but it's a whole different ball game in terms of the
it's
level to which this
amazing.
has to be
I
pushed.
I couldn't understand how they could make such a small vehicle.
Right, right.
Eh?
And also, you must have heard of the Ingenuity helicopter, which flew on Mars.
Yes,
It
that is
was
only
designed for
one and a half
5 flights.
kilogram.
Right, right.
My
But
God.
the important thing is the density of the atmosphere there is just 1% of the density
Uh,
on Earth. So in such a
yes.
thin, rarefied atmosphere to make things fly is really absolutely amazing.
How do you get the energy?
Exactly.
But
No, again, I think nature shows that, because in terms of energy, if you're looking at the amount of food that birds eat, the grains that they eat, and some of these are migratory birds that travel across oceans to other continents. So it's really mind-boggling how energy efficient they are.
amazing. One of the bird, if you have seen, it flew from Alaska
Mhm.
to New Zealand,
Hmm. Oh
12,000
my God.
kilometers,
Okay. Okay.
non-stop.
Wow.
And
No,
I think it
wow.
was 50 days or so. I don't remember exactly.
Mhm.
No stop, no food. I mean, how these birds derive the energy
It's-
and
it's-
directions? Amazing,
Right, right.
amazing technology. So we are waiting for the people to join now.
That's correct. That's correct.
Seems.
You mentioned about navigation. I mean, how they get to know where they are going. Because I think we as human beings, we use tools, whereas none of the
Yes.
animals use tools. I think that's a huge distinction between human beings and animals. And because we have started using tools, we've become over time so dependent on the tools that we have lost some of our innate abilities. So
Right.
one
Mm.
is the five sensory abilities, but also the intuitive abilities. I think, or what we call as extrasensory perception. I think that is still a remnant in many of the animals, unlike human beings.
Look at those, penguins in Australia. And what happens?
Yeah.
early morning they go
Uh-huh.
for feeds, collecting the food.
Uh-huh.
And in a day, they travel almost 100 kilometers.
Mm,
And
mm,
in the evening, they come
mm.
back and go to their nest individually.
It's so
It's
beautiful. I've
amazing.
been to
It's
Penguin Island in Melbourne, close to Melbourne.
yeah,
Yeah, so I was there
it's
and stayed there for a whole day, and I mean, so beautiful, so amazing
that's
what
right.
these are
They,
capable of.
they come
They're
in
not
the
just
evening
beautiful to
after
look at,
almost
but the kind of things that they do, it's mind-boggling.
mind-boggling. And they just, every bird, they go to their own nest.
Right. So it's not just to find food for themselves, they go to the ocean, but they bring the food for their little ones.
Children,
Yeah,
yes, is mind-boggling the technology in the nature.
true, very true.
Okay, I think still
Yeah, I sent reminder as well just an hour back.
maybe attendees are now tired of attending. Yeah, I
Um,
thought I'll just finish within two lectures now, all
I
this
see.
remaining portion, and I won't
Okay,
drag on.
I see. Okay.
So
So two
because that will
includes today
complete the
or
things.
other than today?
Yeah, one
Mm,
more.
one more after today.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So that should complete. Well, the reason is why this is a bit more important because now I take up the block, basically building block approach for
Mhm,
testing in this presentation.
mm,
And that will show all the sequence of how we work out, right from the material determination
mhm,
to the component testing. So what is involved in it? What different tests are there? Uh,
mhm,
it's all, I put only generic. Of course, I can't be too specific also. There's not much of the time, but that will provide a building block approach for the testing. And which is important, basically, that's what we have been talking, that
mhm,
when we have to study, we have to follow the building block approach
mhm,
for all the investigations, validation of theory, validation of test, and then finally validating the component by test and get airworthiness approval.
mhm.
So that's that's an important aspect remaining, which I should. Well, I don't know whether anybody is going to join or something.
It's surprising. I usually have at least a couple of people
Yeah,
time.
mm, at least one of the persons who asked a lot of questions, Yad Arvind, what is the
Yeah,
name?
Arvind Yadav. Yeah,
Arvind. He
yeah,
he asked a lot of questions. I
right,
enjoy actually that
right.
questions from him. Very. mm. In fact, last time he asked one of the question was in lightning strike when I was talking of
Mhm,
that have there been any worst disaster in lightning due to lightning strike? So I just Googled
mhm,
and I found a couple of them which have crashed. But of course, the cases are very rare, and for the
mhm,
last 40 or 50 years, there have been no significant cases. There have
mhm,
been very few cases in the history when early designs and concepts were evolving, when lightning hit.
mhm,
And in one of the aircraft, it caused the fuel outlet pipe, starting sparking due to
mhm,
the electricity,
mhm,
basically, and then it flew to,
mhm,
or it propagated to the fuel tank, and then everything burst. So that's sort of example. So I thought I'll just show some
mhm,
examples.
mhm.
Oh, interesting. Even it was knowledgeable for me.
Yeah, I think perhaps many of these well-known or well-anticipated issues like lightning strikes, I think people have taken care of
Yeah, like
of time.
because there's no
As
major accident due to lightning now,
right,
because the
right,
way we
right.
consider lightning strikes, whether it's a composite or metal, they're
Mhm,
all taken care of.
mm.
And the things normally are risky is the fuel tanks.
Right,
And
right.
they
So
have
it's a
been now.
follow-up, not the lightning strike itself, but what happens after the lightning strike,
Well,
isn't
that's
it?
right, because
That's what
if the lightning is
creates the
caught by the
correct,
fuel,
correct.
then whole of the fire. And that's what happened in this case
Mhm,
in 1960s, early 60s,
mm,
when the flight crashed.
mm, mm,
But there's no way now these things will occur. In fact, I was talking about one of the slides from Boeing
mhm,
last time.
mhm,
That's on 787. What
mhm.
happened initially, the wing had sorry, the surface coated, because it's all composite
Yeah,
aircraft. So
yeah.
surface was coated with a copper mesh.
Mhm.
Hmm. However, Boeing removed it in I think 2019.
Okay.
Hmm. And then FAA took objection to that.
Mhm.
So Boeing then justified.
This was for a single aircraft or for all
No, no,
families?
787 aircraft. Actually, this
S-
I'll just show you the picture
Okay,
again. Let me just show you
sure.
share
Mhm.
and can you see this picture?
Not yet.
Oh, is it share? I've done this. Let me go back. Share, share screen. Okay.
Yeah, now I can see it.
Okay. Now what you see, this is 787 aircraft
Mhm,
wing. Hmm?
mhm,
They're all fuel tanks here.
mhm.
So initially what they had, because this is composite wing,
Yeah.
whole aircraft is composite. So
Mhm,
naturally, in order to make it conductor here, and that's a usual practice, copper
mhm,
foil or bronze mesh.
mhm,
So here copper foil. So it makes it conductive. And then you have see the fasteners,
yeah.
insulating cap seal, and they are
Mhm,
very much sealed. Basically, any gap
mhm,
may cause a spark.
mhm,
So
mhm,
they are well-designed collars and fastener. And this has been, we used to take a utmost care. In fact, there is a special type of fasteners and collars which will
mhm,
be compressing it so that there's no gap between these joints.
mhm,
Hmm. And then there's a seal here, this intact sealant.
mhm,
So this was the configuration
mhm,
initial.
mhm,
And you see, in 2019, wing
mhm,
lightning protection,
mhm,
they did remove this bronze mesh for copper foil.
mhm,
So that
mhm.
is why FAA took an objection to this. And this is what I got from basically from published news article.
Okay, okay.
Mhm. So you can see this. Now, the way they have remedied this situation,
Mhm,
that as the fuel is being burned, hmm,
mhm, mhm.
there will be fuel vapors, of course.
Yeah.
And if there is a fastener, catching the scar or that spark,
Mhm,
then immediately fuel vapors will burn, cause the crash. However, if you notice here, number 3 and read it, nitrogen generating system.
mhm,
As the fuel is used and the liquid level drops in the tank, fuel vapor rises to fill the open space. So fuel vapor is sometimes flammable and a spark or edge glow could ignite the vapor.
mhm.
A nitrogen generating system
Okay,
fills
okay,
the space
okay.
above which is inert gas.
Right.
So there won't be any flame. The
Mm,
this fuel vapor will not burn
mhm,
because of nitrogen. And this
mhm,
is the remedy which they did, and
mhm.
it was acceptable to FAA.
I see. Okay.
So That's the situation. In
And
fact,
there have been no issues with this new concept since,
well, I don't think so.
as far as public knowledge is concerned.
Yes, but I doubt if they were, because, as you know, currently Boeing is already having so many issues. And so one thing is there with Boeing, I learned. You see, there might have been some mishaps due to some production issues. I don't know. But the amount of quality control and the safety, we were just bombarded all the time. The issues, safety, safety, safety.
Yep.
And that's the primary objective.
Mhm.
We would have training sessions every 6 months or so, which then would be reviewing our safety. And another thing which they used to see in every video, never get scared of anyone telling the truth. Tell the truth. If you have committed a mistake, be open, not hide. You will never be penalized telling the truth. But if you don't tell the truth, you may be penalized. So I think the culture which I learned at Boeing was great from that point of view. Working culture, respecting people. In fact, the amount of freedom and the responsibilities which they give you is remarkable.
Right.
A lot of freedom of what? It's not that your boss is sitting on your head all the time. No. They give a lot of time and just free. And that is how you develop the organization. If there's a fear, naturally people won't work properly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the culture, I find the culture at Boeing was super. Working culture. Beautiful. It's a very good organization. Well, I haven't served too many organizations. I can fight him. That was another freedom.
No, I think that's also a proof of how good the place was, that you stayed on in the same place, which is very rare today.
Yes.
No, I think it makes sense not to do micromanagement and give the employees more freedom over a longer period of time. That builds in responsibility. And I think companies which have a longer term vision, which want to exist for a long time, obviously are looking at long term goals rather than short term goals in terms of priorities. So I think that's where I think really helps for innovations to happen, as well as the primary requirements like safety to be fulfilled.
That's right. I never felt in the company of telling the truth. No fear. That, so the culture, I think it was good. Anyway, in fact, in one of the conferences, in Boeing conferences, a couple of years back in Seattle when I was there, so their executive said, Boeing is the most preferred organization for engineers in USA for employment.
I think there's a lot of interest in lightning protection coming back because of electric propelled aircraft. Because one thing is the danger that you showed in fueled vehicles in terms of the fuel catching fire. But in terms of the battery and how it behaves when the lightning strikes, I think that's another interesting area where people are looking at it anew.
In fact, in 2013, this, if you read some of the Boeing news articles, there was a problem of battery, lithium battery. They were getting, fire. So Boeing had to do a lot of investigations. Finally, of course, it was all cured, and they eliminated those issues because there was some issues with supply or some. I don't know really all the details, but there was some issue about the lithium batteries.
Okay.
In fact, lithium batteries are not very safe. There have been, I've seen in Australia, there have been many cases when the fires have occurred due to the scooter or the car, and about 5, 6 cars were burned. They were parked somewhere. And so it can happen.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, Professor Dinesh, nobody's
The
there.
cooling process, it's not just the battery technology alone, but how the packaging is done and how the heat
Yes.
dissipation is taken care of. Because the discharging cycles will always result in the heat generation. So it's a question of how you handle that heat. It's a thermal management problem more than the electrical problem.
Yes. In fact, mobiles and laptops, a lot of
Right.
fires have occurred in the home.
Right, right.
So,
Many airports have these policies in terms of certain mobile phone brands or certain laptop brands not being allowed at least for short periods until the issues are sorted out.
right. But I think all the mobiles should be using now lithium batteries. So,
Right,
which
of course, yeah,
irrespective of
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's again the size. So once you come to the mobile, the size is so small, the battery size also is small, and so the heat generation is also lesser in absolute terms. And it's
yes,
a question of dissipating it over the surface of the mobile. So that kind of gets taken care of. It's only when you keep the mobile in, let's say, closed environment, a small closed environment where the heat cannot escape. So then
right.
we could end up with those risks.
Okay, I think, Professor Dinesh,
Yeah,
we might have to call it
sure,
a day
sure, sure.
if nobody
Yeah, it's
has
too
joined.
late
It's
to expect
surprising that
anybody
nobody.
after this. Yeah. You had
So
mentioned at
maybe,
the end of the last class that we will have this, right?
well, 2 lectures I
Mm-hmm.
would like to have ready to
Yeah,
finish off
yeah,
because currently the slide which I was showing, I had to show
yeah.
today. I
Yeah.
would start from,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is something like production anomalies from 211,
Mm-hmm.
and total number of slides are almost 370 or 380, but most of the slides I would be running quickly, and
Okay,
I feel it should be within 2 lectures, it should be all over.
I see.
Done.
Okay, sure,
So let us see if on Monday,
sure. Okay, Doctor.
otherwise, we don't know if people are already tired of this. No.
Many of them are working professionals as well, apart from students. So I think
Right.
they would have their commitments, and sometimes they may not be able to make
Sure.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So Dinesh, and have a good
Sure,
weekend and
sure. You
enjoy.
too. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar. Bye.